Alrighty, hello and welcome to Train Fever, and this is going to be a not terribly positive video, although there is hope. But notice the menu music appears to have stopped playing. Whoops, probably should have restarted the game. But either way, this is Train Fever. This is a transport tycoon type game. I don't really know what category that is. Transport simulation? Kind of? I guess it's transport simulation, but just recently released. I'm running a couple versions behind. You can see what build I'm on. I think I'm 2 or 3 versions behind. Nothing terribly big as far as what I can see from patch notes and those changes, so we're just going to run with this one because I have a save file with this one and I don't know if they're compatible with future ones. I assume they are, but I don't know. So anyway, this is Train Fever. If you click New Game, you can set your name, your world size, your seed, so that you can put in your own seed so if you're playing with multiple people or friends or whatever, because the game has no multiplayer currently. I don't know if it ever will. You can all put in the same seed, so you have that. You have your start years, traditional kind of stuff. The difficulty, I haven't actually tested, but I assume it starts you with less money, and probably a bigger loan, which is kind of bollocks. It's kind of like running higher difficulties in something like Roller Coaster Tycoon, where you just start with less money and a higher loan, which really means basically nothing, except the start of the game will be really slow. I have a saved game here with large quantities of money that I would otherwise not have, and it eventually will theoretically load up here. If it doesn't load up, then we're going to have a minor issue. There it goes. So I have remarkably large quantities of money that I otherwise would not have, so just bear that in mind. I've set up a train line here. You can see it go around. It's an incredibly large and unwieldy train line that I built specifically so we have an incredibly large and unwieldy train line so I can talk about stuff. The biggest thing is that this game does not run very well. You can see it stutter, especially when it's like right there, when I'm zoomed out, and this is a small map, by the way, so there's not really a whole lot of stuff going on here. You can see the edges of the map. This one train line is like a quarter of the map because I'm silly. So the game doesn't run terribly well. It looks alright. I'm not running at the maximum settings because of how poorly it runs, but it looks alright. You know, you can zoom in. I need to sneeze. There we go. You can zoom in, you can see people walking around, which is nice, and if you're far enough in the game, you can see cars driving around sometimes and whatnot. So it's really nice looking. Where's the train at? Of course, he just went under. Let's wait for him to pop out on this side. The terrain gets a little janky when you build stuff through it because it's not smooth. There goes the train. It's not smooth when it adjusts the terrain around objects. It's much like that, which I suppose is what it would probably be like in the real world. But it looks really weird in the game because of just how sudden it is, so. But anyway, you'll notice, if you don't know, I should explain what this is. If you don't know anything like Transport Tycoon Deluxe or anything like that, basically you're in charge of a company that can build transport lines. In this case, we can build rail lines, road lines, and tram lines, which are basically like, you know, road lines with trams. So there's no air or anything like that in this game. There might be in the future, I don't know. But the main focus of these types of games is generally the railroads, which is why I have a very large and silly railroad set up. So you transport goods around. In this game, the goods will move on their own. If you don't build anything, goods from these production facilities will make their way to other ones, and then this will make their way to the town. But you'd notice I destroyed the road there. That's so that this uses the line. If I don't destroy that road, it doesn't use the line because the length is not long enough to dictate using the line because of this horrible path I've taken. So with that out of the way, I explained kind of what's going on. You build trains, you move stuff around. That's basically the premise of the game. And you want to make lots of money. And now we get to the numerous problems I have with the game. Obviously the first one I've already mentioned is, I don't know what that jingle was. The first one that I've mentioned is obviously the performance, which is not terribly good, and these icons are just an overlay I have on to tell me where cargo is. Let's turn on land use. You can see that, there you go. The other problem I have is with the way the tracks and the trains and stuff work, and this is a big part of the game. It's called Train Fever. And it has path signals, as you can see, this little path signal there, doing its thing. I can set it to one way if I want to, which I would have to set all of these to one way. And I'm lazy, and I only have the track set up to go one way, so it's kind of, actually, I have it set up both ways. Whatever, it's set up to go one way efficiently, and that's the way it goes. So, here's the problem, and I'm going to explain things that you might not understand. The path signals don't work in the means that they're supposed to work. For instance, if I take it doesn't matter what I take. If I get a two-line station, a two or more line station technically, but doing more than doing more than 3 lines gets really complicated really fast. So we'll just do 2 lines. Nice looking station, right? Fairly logical. It's got both sides and stuff. And let's say I want both of these to be accessible. Built this in a terrible place, but hopefully it'll do. Let's say I want both of these lines to be accessible from a single line. So I build this out. You know, we've got our single line heading way down there or whatever. And this one, if I build on the right spot, merges up with that. Now if I just leave it like this, regardless of what game I actually... shut up. I know it's not connected to anything. Regardless of what game I did this in, if I just left this station like that, the trains would all go into one line, or they just wouldn't go in here depending on if I had signals further down the line. Trains. We'll put a depot at the end of this, just so we would have a train if I wanted to showcase this. And then we would use track signals to signal that these pathways are open. So we would have a signal there to say, alright, if this point from this signal to the station is open, then the train can leave the depot. And that's fine. But the problem is, if there's a train in either of these sections, it won't leave the depot because the entire section is not empty. So the way you would fix that is you would then put, if I can, it's a little finicky when you have tracks this close to each other. Barely build one right there. So the way you fix that is you put 2 signals here, and what this means is if this section right here is empty, then you can leave the depot. And based on what part of the train station is empty, one of these path signals, or neither of them if both of them are full, one of these path signals will say go, and the train that leaves the depot will then split to the side of the station that's empty. That's how it's supposed to work. That's not necessarily how it works though. Let's set up a very silly line where you just new line, that station. There you go. It's the greatest line. Click the X, thank you. Now, unless I was doing it horribly wrong last time, if I just buy 2 trains like this, let's set you to line 2, he'll leave, he'll go to the station, he'll go straight, which is what he should do, because it's empty. And he should just sit at the station because he has no other job. But if I go to this train, set him to line 2, he'll sit there. He won't go in. You also very smoky, dude. You're just pouring out. Good lord, that's a lot of smoke. Are you on fire? Either way, you see the problem here is that this signal is not communicating with both of these signals, which means you can't build what would be known as far as I'm aware, a Ro-Ro station. So 2-lane stations like this that merge into a single line are physically not usable in this game, and that was a really long roundabout method of saying this station is almost worthless. Which is really sad, because that's kind of the point of having these 2-lane stations, is that you can have multiple trains in them without having multiple tracks. Now if you're doing huge, what's the biggest? 7-lane or something like that? 5-lane in this game. Also, you have to destroy stations to upgrade the amount of lines on them, which is annoying. Where's a flat chunk of land at? I can show this at. This will do. It's not really flat, is it? It's not flat at all. You know what? We'll just put it right here next to the other one. So let's say you were going to do a 5-line station. Obviously there'd be a lot of crisscrosses and unders and overs and whatnot to get all the tracks accessible. And if this was something like OpenTTD, I could do that and then lay out the signals, and every single one of these lines would be accessible from a single depot like that right there. In this game though, it won't work, regardless of how you lay the tracks over and under each other and how they crisscross and whatnot. It would be physically impossible. And I'm not going to actually lay out the tracks, I'm just going to scoot them out a little bit like this. Also, it's really hard to lay out straight tracks in this game, because it's very finicky with how it curves. And regardless of how you lay these over and under, like also it's impossible, as far as I'm aware, to tell it to go up or down. Like if I hold Control, Alt, Shift, right click, nothing, I can't get it to just go up or down. So if I needed to, which in this case I would because it's 5 lines, if I needed to cross this one over to here to let it be accessible from other lines that aren't directly next to it, I couldn't do that without physically crossing this track, which I can no longer build because apparently terrain alignment collision for no apparent reason. Either way, these big stations are worthless unless you're running 5 lines into them, which is very inefficient. It's really annoying. This signal thing is also true of just general tracks like this, which is kind of sad. Like if I built a split, which I don't think I have anywhere on this track that I can build, but if I built a split to allow trains to pass each other, for instance, not there because I can't build one there. Just for explanation purposes, let's try and build a split off of this. It's going to give me a heck of a time doing because it's got this very silly auto track build thing. So let's say I build that split there and I put up some signals to allow it to function as it should. I forget which side of the rail we're supposed to be on, that side. That's a worthless signal. But I put a signal there and then I put signals here. In reality, what this would be checking is this area open? If so, continue into it. And then it would check both of these tracks to be open, and then continue into whichever one is open, and then proceed to check all the way down between the signals. That's what the signals are. It's basically blocks of track that the train would check before moving into, at least theoretically. But the train won't check either or, it will check both. So once it checks both, it'll see that, say, signal 1 is bad and signal 2 is good, then this will take the bad signal and say do not continue, and then it'll sit there until both are clear, which makes it a little bit weird and not exactly how it's supposed to work, which is kind of sad. I've spent a lot of time talking about the trains. There's also cars and trams and stuff. They work perfectly fine. I don't really use them that much. Let's make a simple, just to explain kind of how this system works, let's make a simple train or bus thing, whatever this is called. So we'll make a bus stop, make one there. I probably should have checked where the residential in that place is, but I don't really care. And then we'll make another bus stop over here, and a depot, because you need a depot to purchase vehicles, so we'll just plop that down there. And then we'll click this little button here and make a line, just like you saw me do before, between these two stations. You can see it routes it out for us. There's our little bus line. They'll do a little circle path, as you do when you're a bus, because you can't just turn around in the street. I'll talk about trains turning around in a second. So now we've got a line, a passenger line specifically. So now we need a passenger road vehicle, which would probably be... this one is probably our best bet. That one looks cool though. We'll take the Mac. we'll just buy a whole bunch of these for no reason other than the fact that I want a whole bunch of mechs. And we'll set them to the line. And the game will freak out because it launches them all at the same time, and then they'll be on their way, and they'll pick up passengers and transport them around, and new vehicles are available apparently. And they'll do their thing, which is, you know, it's nice. That's basically it though. Road vehicles just work, which is kind of how they're supposed to be, but you don't need signals or anything for road vehicles. They have roads. They have their own laws for the roads. They'll stop at intersections and stuff and let people by and whatever. It's not a terribly complicated thing. And they can't turn around in the middle of the street, so they'll do a little circle or whatever, wherever they can. Trains, however, and as far as I'm aware, there's not a way to change the setting on this, but trains can turn around at any point. So if you just have, for instance, this. Let's, I don't know if we can physically do this because I've horribly broken this now. Waiting for free path. I know, just go to depot. There we go. This one, if I were to just set it up to 2 stations, which we will quickly do for the purpose of showing this, delete that for me, please. I don't care if it contains a vehicle, blow up the vehicle too. I don't need it. I got all this money for the explicit purpose that I can show this crap. This auto track builder is a pain. Slope is too high. Great! I like when the game does that. Alright, you know what? We'll just do it this way then. Pop that there. Slope is too high. You kidding me? Alright, whatever, I'll just explain it. Screw you, game. If you just have a line, for instance, like this, with 2 tracks in it. And I can't delete those. The delete tool's also all sorts of weird. I don't know what's going on there. If I have a line with just 2 stations in it like this, and it's quite clear that this isn't circular, the train will go down the track, hit this station, and then turn around in place and go back down that way. I don't know of a setting to turn that off, whereas in something like OpenTTD you can turn it off where you need, I know, shut up, where you need a circular path for the trains to work, which realistically you would need a circular path, or at least a little turnaround point at the end of the stations, just a little circle at the end of them. Is often how I would build stuff in OpenTTD until we get really big, crazy stuff. So that's the thing. It's kind of weird that there's not a setting for it. I'm not concerned that it's in the game because a lot of other things have that, or a lot of other games have that, so not too fussed about it. I just wish there was a setting. What else can I talk about? It's like, how much is the game? 35 bucks or something like that? It's quite a lot, but still, you know, if you like trains, I guess you can get this. I would honestly recommend, for the time being, I anticipate a lot of these issues will get sorted out as the game gets patched, but bear in mind it is released on Steam, so it's not early access or anything, it's on Steam, released front page kind of store thing. I would recommend for the time being that if you really must have a transport game like this, that you... what is that? That's a little car. Can I click it? I can. Details. Home. Oh, that's cool. Those are just building IDs. You work over there. You leisure over there. You shop in the other town, apparently. And you live there. Anyway, I would recommend for the time being that if you really must have a game like this, you would stick with something like OpenTTD, Open Transport Tycoon Deluxe, which is free, works really well. Has multiplayer, which is huge. Games like this having multiplayer is really nice, but if you're not one for playing with other people, it also has AI, which you might have noticed this game doesn't. There are no competitors in this game. There will never be a point where there is another company trying to take business from you or building railways or whatever. If you go play OpenTTD, there's all sorts of AIs that you can download or just use the base game AI, which isn't very good, but still. and they will build trains and, you know, roadways and stuff to transport stuff and compete with you. Which is, you know, it's nice to have competition. It gives you something to spend money on, really, apart from just making things look fancy. Whereas in this case, it's just me. I am the only person here that will ever build anything, so it's a little bit lonely. As far as I'm aware, there is no multiplayer, and I don't know if there will ever be multiplayer. It's possible, but I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, we could talk about some other buttons. Here's your resources, or your company money, funding, bollocks and stuff, and you break it down, traditional stuff. Here are all your vehicles based on how much they make, the age, and all that. I like how that one train and that one road vehicle are making all the money. Well done. We've got stations, which is relatively worthless. I guess if you have a large map and you filled out all of the map with stuff, you can look at this and see which stations are having trouble with cargo that's waiting. For instance, these passengers are waiting so long because I've launched all the vehicles at the same time, which means they don't do anything properly, and I don't have the lines set up for that. What I could do for that line, actually, if we go to lines, I forget how to do that. I do actually forget how to... oh yeah, we have to do that and go to the lines. So if we go to this line and we edit it, we can do full load all. That way the buses will actually stop at the station and wait. They're doing that weird route. We may as well just sit here and watch while I talk about crap. You can do your list of industries, list of towns and industries, which will grow as you transport stuff. Kind of typical transport tycoon thing. Stuff grows as you move stuff between them, which I suppose is nice, but you know, whatever. For instance, yeah, this one, the steel mill that I'm transporting stuff to has already increased its capacity. And you can see towns grow. For instance, this town will grow a lot because I'm transporting passengers and goods to it. So you can see as they upgrade buildings, they'll upgrade plots or expand the town or whatever. They increased the rate of expansion in one of the recent patches, which is nice because at the moment it's basically non-existent. So anyway, now you can see the buses will wait here until they're full. How many can you fill? You can hold 10. So he'll just sit there until he's full. This will dramatically help the whole people waiting at stations thing as the vehicles will spread out. But yeah. Anyway, that's Train Fever. I'm not particularly fond of it. I would honestly rather play Transport Tycoon Deluxe, Open Transport Tycoon Deluxe. Either of those, technically, they're more or less the same thing. Oh, I forgot you can alter terrain, but you know. The up and down tools seem incredibly weak, and I'm not sure if this is on purpose, but then if you go to the equal tool, it seems to be much more powerful. Let's find kind of a dramatically hilly area. This'll do. So you can see just how much of an effect it has, and this is the largest you can make it, by the way. You can't make this tool any larger than that, which is kind of sad. But if you go to something like Razor Lower and do that, sure it moves, but it's not very quick when compared to this tool, which is just such a dramatic change in values. It's really weird. Also, it's almost impossible to smooth things. It's very sad. You can tell I was trying to do it over here. I spent ages to get it to look like that, and then I'm not really sure what's going on here, but apparently the perimeter thing, the perimeter game bug things have been over here eating all of my terrain for no apparent reason. But yep, that's Transport Tycoon, not Transport Tycoon, that's Train Fever. I forgot what I was talking about. You know, if you want to buy it, it's on Steam. I think it's 35 bucks normally, I think. I would recommend you go to Open Transport Tycoon and play that for the time being. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.